In the fractured land of Vandoria, once a grand and unified kingdom, 5 warring city-states now stand in bitter conflict. The majestic mountain peaks, vast deserts, and lush forests that once connected the realm are now divided by strife and distrust. Each city-state is ruled by its own council, fiercely protecting its domain and the powerful magical artifacts that both fuel their prosperity and sow division. Vandoria's golden age ended with the fall of the First Monarch, a ruler whose reign brought peace and harmony to the land. But a cataclysmic event shattered the kingdom, leaving a power vacuum. Amid this chaos, the Aethir, ancient and powerful magical beings once revered as rulers alongside humans, withdrew into the shadows. Though they no longer openly rule, their influence still lingers, subtly shaping the conflict and the lives of the city-states. The Aethir command elemental forces that are both feared and revered. In the heart of one city-state, a bustling marketplace reveals the growing tensions. Merchants peddle enchanted relics and potions, while rumors of unrest among the lower classes spread like wildfire. The once equal relationship between humans and the Aethir has crumbled, replaced by a rigid class system that elevates the magical elite while the human underclass languishes in the shadows. Far from the clamor of the city, in a dimly lit retreat nestled high in the mountains, Lirae, a young woman shrouded in mystery, lives under an assumed name. She is unaware of her true heritage, unaware that she is the long-lost heir to the First Monarch. For years, she has hidden from the world, tormented by dreams of a kingdom that no longer exists. Outside the retreat, a storm is gathering. The whispers of rebellion grow louder, and it becomes clear that Lirae's hidden past will soon collide with her present, whether she is ready or not. Lirae is a young woman with a sharp mind and a fiercely independent spirit, living a simple life in a secluded village deep within Vandoria's forested hills. A skilled healer, she tends to the sick and injured with steady hands and a compassionate heart. Raised by her quiet, adoptive parents since infancy, she has been sheltered from the political turmoil that has torn the kingdom apart. Lirae has always been told that her parents saved her from the chaos, and while she cherishes their love and protection, she often questions the grand stories they tell about the First Monarch and the fall of Vandoria. Her days are peaceful and routine, until one evening, as dusk settles over the village, a mysterious figure appears. Thessira, an enigmatic Aethir princess, cloaked in shadow, arrives at Lirae's doorstep. The villagers are wary of the Aethir, but Thessira's presence is commanding, and there's an undeniable urgency in her eyes. At first, Thessira speaks in riddles, but Lirae's curiosity soon overcomes her hesitation. In a quiet, dimly lit room, Thessira reveals the unimaginable truth. Lirae is the last surviving heir of the First Monarch. She carries the bloodline of a fallen kingdom, and with her lies the potential to restore Vandoria to its former glory. Lirae is stunned. The royal tales she had dismissed as childish stories, tales her parents had whispered to her at bedtime, suddenly feel far too real. Thessira's voice is firm yet compassionate as she explains the peril Vandoria faces. The city-states, each with their own magical factions, are locked in brutal conflict, vying for dominance, while the magical Aethir are no longer trusted. The monarchy's downfall left a power vacuum, and now the fractured kingdom desperately needs a leader. That leader, it turns out, is Lirae. The revelation shakes Lirae to her core. She struggles to comprehend the weight of this newfound reality. The heir to a kingdom lost in history, a princess destined to wield power she never asked for? The fear and disbelief threaten to overwhelm her as Thessira's words echo in her mind. The Aethir princess steps closer, her eyes glowing with an unearthly light. "You are the kingdom's last hope," she says, her voice heavy with implication. "But you must decide whether to accept your place in history, or let the kingdom fall into ruin." Frozen, Lirae's mind swirls with 1,000 questions. The thought of wielding such power, of leading a revolution, terrifies her. She is not a leader, she is a healer, a quiet woman who has always avoided conflict. But Thessira's gaze doesn't waver. Your blood calls for this. It will not wait for you to be ready. In that moment, Lirae's internal conflict begins. Her longing for a peaceful, simple life clashes with the burden of the future that now rests on her shoulders. Torn between the life she knows and the impossible destiny before her, she turns away from Thessira, her heart racing. A storm of emotions churns within her, fear, doubt, and an emerging sense of responsibility. As Thessira leaves, urging her to make a decision soon, Lirae is left alone in the silence of the room. She stares out the window, gazing at a world on the brink of change. A kingdom awaits its leader, and a young woman is left uncertain if she is ready to lead it. A man shaped by hardship and strife. Born into the slums of a city-state ruled by the Aethir elite, Kyres has spent his entire life battling for survival. His face is hardened by struggle, his eyes burning with the fire of rebellion. As the leader of an underground movement, he is a human revolutionary with a dream of dismantling the system that has oppressed his people for centuries. We see Kyres in action. The scene opens with a daring raid on an Aethir outpost, a well-planned strike led by Kyres and his band of rebels. Moving through the shadows of war-torn villages, they infiltrate fortified strongholds, set fire to Aethir supply depots, and free enslaved workers. With each successful operation, Kyres' reputation as a cunning strategist and fearless leader grows. His followers, desperate, poor, and disenfranchised, look to him for guidance. His charisma and unyielding determination stir a growing coalition of factions, uniting humans, dissident Aethir, and defectors from other city-states. However, Kyres' hatred for the Aethir runs deep. Born without magic, he has always felt set apart in a world where the Aethir wield elemental powers like gods. The magical elite control everything: resources, knowledge, and the very fate of common people. Kyres' frustration with his lack of power has fueled a deep animosity, bordering on obsession. To him, magic is a weapon of oppression, and the Aethir are its cruel wielders. In one tense scene, Kyres leads his forces into a village where Aethir soldiers have burned homes and enslaved the locals. The rebellion strikes quickly and decisively, and as the smoke rises from the ruined village, Kyres addresses his followers. "This is just the beginning. We take back what's ours," he says, his voice cold and resolute. His people cheer, but a quiet unease ripples through the crowd. They crave change, but Kyres' all-consuming anger leaves little room for mercy or negotiation. Despite his outward certainty, Kyres is beginning to doubt himself. In moments of solitude, he reflects on the cost of the revolution. Does their fight for justice require the destruction of everything in their path? Is total upheaval the price of true freedom? His internal conflict is subtle, but it eats away at him. The turning point comes when Kyres learns of Lirae's return. Rumors spread like wildfire, the last heir of the First Monarch, the one who could unite the fractured kingdom. At first, Kyres dismisses the news with scorn, convinced that Lirae, if she exists, is just another pawn of the Aethir regime. She has been hidden away for years. What use could she be to a revolution that needs action, not ideals? But as he hears more about her, the possibility of her uniting both humans and Aethir begins to stir something within him. One evening, after a meeting with his closest confidants, Kyres stands alone in a darkened room, staring at a map of the kingdom. His thoughts are tangled. Could Lirae be the one to lead a united kingdom? The rebellion's passion has carried him far, but in his quieter moments, Kyres feels the weight of responsibility. Is he fighting for a kingdom in ruins, or is there a way to rebuild it? Can a revolution lead to something better, or will it only breed more destruction? As he grapples with this uncertainty, tension brews among his followers. Some are eager for a violent overthrow of the Aethir, seeing no room for compromise. Others, more moderate, wonder if there's a way to negotiate with the Aethir, perhaps through Lirae's potential leadership. Kyres' closest ally, a fellow revolutionary named Mara, presses him to think carefully. Kyries, what are we fighting for? Revenge or a future? Kyries' response is sharp, but his doubt lingers. We're fighting for freedom. For justice? Mara's eyes narrow. And that means what, exactly? The Aethir must fall. But what happens after? In a quiet, intense moment, Kyries walks away from the group, seeking solitude. The weight of his decisions bears down on him. He knows the revolution cannot continue on blind hatred alone. His mind races with the possibility of Lirae, not as a symbol of the old order, but as a potential force for reconciliation. But can he trust her? Or will she, like all the others, abandon the people in favor of power? As the night deepens, Kyries faces the truth. He is no longer certain of the path he's on. His revolution, his cause, could change the course of Vandoria. But at what cost? Thessira stands on the edge of a cliff, gazing out at the vast, moonlit ocean. The tides crash against the rocks below, their rhythm mirroring the storm within her. As a moonborn, a member of the prestigious Aethir elite, Thessira holds the rare ability to control the tides, manipulate lunar phases, and weave illusions so vivid they blur the line between dream and reality. Her magic is immense, yet she is bound by the rigid traditions of her family, tethered to an order that demands unwavering loyalty to the old ways. The Moonborn family is one of the oldest and most influential factions among the Aethir, with power rooted in ancient bloodlines and their dominion over the tides. But Thessira is an outlier. She has always questioned the traditions and expectations of her kin. The Moonborn believe in Aethir supremacy, maintaining the established hierarchy where magic rules and humans remain subjugated. Yet Thessira envisions a different future, a kingdom where Aethir and humans coexist as equals, sharing power and responsibility. This dream stirs something deep within her. Hope, yes, but also fear. Her thoughts often return to Lirae, the long-lost heir of the First Monarch. Initially, Thessira saw Lirae as a mere tool in her personal struggle for change. If Lirae could be convinced to claim the throne, Thessira believed the monarchy could be reshaped, something that could bridge the divide between Aethir and humans. But as Thessira spends more time with Lirae, her feelings become more complex. The young woman is no longer just a pawn, she is a force of her own, someone who could either strengthen the Aethir cause or shatter it entirely. Thessira walks through the ornate halls of her family's estate, weighed down by centuries of tradition. Her family expects her to uphold their legacy, to preserve their standing in Aethir society. But Thessira's heart pulls her in a different direction. She is a reluctant revolutionary, torn between her duty to her family and her desire for a new future. Her family views Lirae with suspicion, seeing her as a symbol of the broken past, a reminder of a monarchy that led to Vandoria's ruin. Yet Thessira cannot shake the belief that Lirae might be the key to change, if she can be persuaded to support the Aethir. Late one night, Thessira stands before a mirror, bathed in soft moonlight. She raises her hand, and the lunar phases shift around her. The illusion is flawless, the world bending to her will. But as she watches, her reflection distorts. For a fleeting moment, she sees not just the powerful Aethir princess, but a woman caught in a web of conflicting desires. What do I truly want? She wonders. Her family has long commanded the tides, but the tides of change are rising within her. In conversations with her parents, their voices echo in her mind, stern, unyielding, and certain. They speak of Lirae as a means to strengthen their position, to restore the monarchy to its former glory. The throne must remain in Aethir hands, her father insists. Only through the monarchy can we maintain order. But Thessira's mind begins to rebel. What if order has come at too great a cost? One evening, Thessira meets with Lirae in private. The young woman's presence is still new to her, but Thessira sees something in her, an innate potential for leadership that she hadn't expected. You carry the bloodline of the First Monarch, Thessira says softly. But what kind of kingdom do you wish to create? Lirae looks at her, uncertainty clouding her gaze. I don't know. I've never thought about it. All I know is that my people are suffering. Thessira nods, her eyes distant. She is no longer certain whether Lirae's claim to the throne is the answer, or if it will merely perpetuate the same power structures they've been fighting against. You don't have to carry the weight of the past, Thessira says, her voice low. There are other ways to change things. For a moment, Thessira considers aligning herself with Lirae, not just to help her claim the throne, but to use Lirae as a catalyst for the kind of change she desires. But the thought is complicated by the realization that Lirae could also dismantle the monarchy entirely, leaving Thessira without a place in the new world she envisions. Alone again, Thessira's thoughts spiral. Her family demands loyalty, and she is expected to preserve the status quo. But can she ignore the pull of her own vision? Can she support Lirae's claim to the throne, or does she want to tear down the entire system? The moonlight outside her window seems to grow brighter, as if answering her unspoken question. Thessira knows that whatever path she chooses, the consequences will be far-reaching. But the road ahead is shrouded in uncertainty. The tides of Vandoria's future are shifting, and Thessira's heart is torn between loyalty to her family and her desire for progress. A progress that may demand destroying everything she has ever known. Lirae stands at the edge of the forest, gazing toward the horizon. The landscape that once felt familiar now seems foreign, the weight of her newfound identity pressing heavily on her. The past few weeks have been a whirlwind, discovering her true lineage, the death of her father, and the fractured state of Vandoria. Her decision is clear: she must journey to Veridoth, the kingdom's heart, to understand the ancient magic that binds the land and uncover the truth behind her father's mysterious death. This path is daunting, yet necessary. But with each step, Lirae carries a heavy burden. Her newfound heritage leaves her unsure of what lies ahead. Can she truly bring change to Vandoria, or is she merely another pawn in the political power struggles that plague the kingdom? Lirae's journey takes her through towns in turmoil, villages ravaged by the tensions between the Aethir and human factions. Along the way, she encounters both supporters and enemies of the monarchy, each offering a different vision for Vandoria's future. As the capital draws nearer, the weight of the kingdom's suffering presses on her. She wonders how much of her father's death was tied to the power struggles that have torn the kingdom apart. Was he killed by those who feared him, or was his death simply the final blow to a kingdom already on the brink of collapse? These questions linger as the road to Veridoth becomes ever more treacherous. Meanwhile, Kyres, the human revolutionary leader, watches the news of Lirae's return spread like wildfire through the rebel camps. He understands that her return could be both a threat and an opportunity. As the last heir to the First Monarch, Lirae's claim to the throne could either solidify the Aethir's power or bring it crashing down. To Kyres, she represents everything he despises, but also a potential ally who could either change the course of the revolution or derail it entirely. Kyres wrestles with a difficult decision. Should he confront her, kill her to prevent her from claiming power, or try to recruit her to his cause? These options blur as he moves toward Veridoth, determined to understand the true implications of her return for the kingdom's future. Along his journey, his growing frustration with the Aethir and doubts about the revolution weigh on him. He realizes that the rebellion can no longer continue on blind hatred alone, but he also knows that with a kingdom on the edge of collapse, hard choices must be made. Lirae's presence complicates everything. In one tense moment, Kyres and his forces ambush an Aethir supply caravan, resulting in a brutal clash. His rage surges as he faces the Aethir soldiers, but in the heat of battle, his mind drifts to Lirae. Could she be the key to ending this war? The thought unsettles him, and his growing uncertainty about his own goals becomes undeniable. Far from the battlefields, Thessira, the Aethir princess, prepares for her journey to Veridoth. Her role in the kingdom's future weighs heavily on her. As a member of the Moonborn family, Thessira is well aware of the growing human rebellion and the instability that threatens the kingdom's magical balance. Her family expects her loyalty to the Aethir cause, but Thessira has her own vision for the future of Vandoria. She recognizes that Lirae's return could be the tipping point, either an opportunity to preserve the monarchy or to dismantle it completely. Thessira dreams of a future where Aethir and humans coexist as equals, but this vision clashes with the old traditions upheld by her family. She believes the monarchy's stranglehold on the kingdom must end, but she also understands that doing so could unravel the very magic that keeps the kingdom intact. In the dead of night, Thessira wrestles with this dilemma. Is it worth risking the kingdom's magic to create the change she seeks? Her visions are clouded with doubt, yet she knows that Veridoth is where the pivotal decisions will be made. As Thessira prepares for a political gathering in Veridoth, she hopes to influence Lirae's decisions, to guide her toward a path of reform. But she also knows this may be her last chance to convince the young woman to stand for a new kingdom, one where Aethir and humans share power, not one ruled by the Aethir elite. Thessira's mind races with possibilities. Should she support Lirae's claim to the throne, using it to gain leverage over the factions? Or should she try to use Lirae's presence to break the monarchy apart and build something new? The three characters, Lirae, Kyries, and Thessira, draw closer to Veridoth, unaware of how their fates will intertwine. Each seeks something different from the capital city. Lirae seeks answers about her father's death and the ancient magic that binds the land. Kyries wants to determine whether Lirae is a threat to his revolution or a potential ally. Thessira aims to shape the future of Vandoria, even if it means dismantling the system her family supports. As they converge on the capital, tensions within the kingdom reach a boiling point. What will happen when their paths finally cross? Will Lirae accept her destiny as the heir to the throne, or will she forge a new path that defies everything she's been told? Will Kyries find common ground with Lirae, or will he see her as an obstacle to his revolution? And can Thessira's vision of a kingdom where Aethir and humans coexist survive the inevitable clash of ideals? In the shadows of Veridoth, the future of Vandoria hangs in the balance. Each character must decide how far they're willing to go to shape the world they believe in. The grand halls of Veridoth are alive with murmurs of intrigue and plotting. Lirae, freshly arrived in the capital, feels the weight of every eye upon her. The city is both majestic and foreboding, its ancient architecture a testament to the monarchy's long rule over Vandoria. But the whispers that follow her speak not of legacy, but of danger. In these gilded corridors, the stakes are as high as the towers above them, and Lirae soon realizes that every conversation is a dance of hidden agendas. Her arrival is met with both interest and suspicion. The ancient magical elites, the Aethir families who have long held dominion over the kingdom, view Lirae's return as a sign that the old order might be restored, or that a new monarch could rise, one who might not share their vision of control. Some seek to claim her allegiance, others see her as a threat, and in the midst of it all, Lirae finds herself caught between the rising human revolution and the powerful Aethir factions, each with their own agendas. At a tense political gathering in Veridoth, Lirae meets the leaders of the Aethir families, their faces masked with polite smiles, but their words sharp and calculating. The head of the Moonborn family, Thessira's father, speaks with veiled authority. "Your presence is a symbol of hope, young monarch," he says, his tone smooth but cold. "Hope for those who wish to see the monarchy returned to its rightful place. We must be cautious in these uncertain times." Lirae's thoughts race as she considers the offer. To restore the monarchy would mean restoring the old power structures, but would it also mean perpetuating the suffering of the people? And what would that mean for the humans, like Kyries and his rebellion, who seek to tear down everything the monarchy represents. Across the city, Kyres receives word of Lirae's arrival. His rebels have long awaited this moment, the return of the heir to the throne, and Kyres knows that her decision could shape the future of the revolution. Should they fight to overthrow the monarchy, or could Lirae be the ally they need to reshape Vandoria from within? Kyres is torn. He has always believed in the necessity of revolution, in toppling the Aethir who have long subjugated humans, but as he learns more about Lirae, he sees a woman who is torn between the legacy of her father and the chaos of the present. Is she the key to uniting Vandoria, or will she simply reinforce the power of the elite? His growing curiosity about Lirae leads him to risky meetings, where he keeps his intentions unclear. To the rebels, he is a leader driven by anger and a desire for change. But within, he begins to question whether revolution alone can heal the wounds of the land. Could compromise, even a difficult one, be the answer? In the midst of this, Thessira's presence looms like a shadow. As a member of the Moonborn family, she too is navigating Verinthal's political landscape, but with her own agenda. She sees the current turmoil as an opportunity to reshape the kingdom, but on her terms. Thessira believes that Lirae is the key to bringing about real change, but the question is how to convince her to abandon the monarchy in favor of her radical vision. A kingdom where Aethir and humans can coexist as equals, where the ancient power structures are dismantled entirely. Thessira's manipulations are subtle but powerful. She knows that to sway Lirae, she must play on the young woman's sense of responsibility for the land and its people. Yet, Thessira also knows that Lirae is not easily swayed. At another private meeting in the capital, Thessira speaks softly, her voice laced with both promise and challenge. "You have the power to change everything, Lirae," she says. "The monarchy is broken. The people are restless. The Aethir elite may want you as their puppet, but you have the power to choose a new path. A path that will unite this land, not divide it." But Lirae hesitates, the weight of Thessira's words pressing down on her. She has always felt the burden of her father's legacy, but she is also acutely aware of the dangers of unchecked power. If she agrees to Thessira's vision, she may risk alienating the very people she is trying to help. And yet, if she sides with the Aethir, she could be complicit in maintaining the oppression of the humans. As the political meetings in Verinthal grow more intense, the lines between ally and enemy blur. Lirae navigates the treacherous waters of diplomacy, learning who she can trust, and who is only using her to further their own ends. The revelation that some of her closest advisors are secretly aligned with factions who seek to manipulate her shocks her to the core. Espionage and betrayal are as dangerous as any battle. Every decision she makes could tip the balance of power in the kingdom, and each choice seems fraught with consequence. Kyres, meanwhile, struggles with his own growing sense of doubt. His initial hatred for the Aethir and their magic is undeniable, but as he gets to know Lirae better, he begins to see her not as the enemy, but as a potential ally. Could they unite the humans and Aethir? Or would that be a betrayal of everything the rebellion has fought for? He is torn between his commitment to revolution and the possibility of a more peaceful, reformed future. In a moment of quiet reflection, he contemplates whether his personal vendetta against the Aethir is blinding him to the possibility of compromise. As Lirae faces her decisions, Thessira's manipulations stir tension among the Aethir families. Her radical ideas are met with both support and fierce opposition, and she realizes that she must choose her alliances carefully. Will she risk everything to sway Lirae to her cause? Or will she play a more subtle game, using her influence to shape events from the shadows? The political intrigue in Verinthal reaches a fever pitch as Lirae, Kyres, and Thessira prepare for the final showdown. The stakes are higher than ever. One decision could change the fate of the entire kingdom. Verinthal is a city on the brink. The very air crackles with tension as the last remnants of the rebellion prepare to clash with the Aethir elite. In the heart of the capital, the Grand Hall is filled with nobles and rebels alike, each faction standing at odds. But it is Lirae who stands at the center, the key to Vandoria's fate. Her bloodline, once a symbol of unity, now holds the power to either restore the monarchy or tear it down forever. Lirae's mind races. She has come so far, learning the truths about her father's death, the magic that binds the kingdom, and the brokenness of the land. The Aethir demand her allegiance, promising her the throne. But to take it would be to embrace the very system that has caused untold suffering for generations. The people, humans like Kyries, are ready for revolution, but the cost of tearing down the monarchy could be too high. As she stands before the gathered council of Aethir families, their eyes expectant, Lirae's thoughts flash back to the quiet village where she was raised, her adoptive parents' constant reminder that power was a burden. Is it time to let the past die? She wonders. Or will I rebuild it, this time for the people? Her voice trembles as she speaks. Vandoria needs a change. But I don't know what that change is yet. The people want peace, but will my throne give them peace? Or will it just reinforce the walls between us? A silence falls over the room, and before anyone can respond, a booming voice interrupts. Enough. Kyries steps forward, his figure shadowed by the weight of his words. He is not the radical firebrand who once led countless raids, but a man who has begun to see the complexities of the world around him. His eyes meet Lirae's, eyes full of defiance, yet flickering with something softer, something uncertain. You talk of peace, Lirae, he says, his voice steady but charged. But can we really have peace when one group of people still holds all the power? A throne will never give the people peace. Only the destruction of the system that shackled them will. The words sting, and Lirae feels her blood run cold. Is Kyries right? She wonders. Is the monarchy irredeemable? But before she can respond, Thessira steps into the center of the room. Her presence commands attention, her moonlit aura flickering like the pale reflection of the stars themselves. She speaks with the power of someone who has always known her place, but today her voice carries an edge of uncertainty. You think destruction is the answer? Thessira's gaze is sharp, her voice filled with quiet fury. You don't understand what you're asking for, Kyries. The magic that holds this kingdom together is fragile. Tear down the monarchy, and you risk losing it all. The balance of magic, the very fabric of Vandoria. She turns to Lirae, eyes softening. You're more than a symbol. You're the key to a new future. You have the power to unite both humans and Aethir, to forge a kingdom where we stand as equals. Kyries scoffs. You want her to bend to your will, Thessira. You want her to join your vision of a new world where the Aethir are still in charge. Where we humans still serve. He steps closer to Lirae, his voice urgent. Don't listen to her, Lirae. We can have a world without rulers, where no one is above anyone else. Lirae feels the pressure mounting. The weight of Vandoria's future is crushing her. What is the right path? She looks to Kyries, passionate, driven by his anger, and to Thessira, whose vision is filled with the promise of a new order, but one that could still be steeped in the old power dynamics. The ground beneath them trembles. And then it happens. A surge of magical energy cracks the air, a pulse that sends waves of power through the capital, shattering windows and sending ripples across the ground. The sky above them darkens, clouds swirling as if reflecting the turmoil below. The elemental forces are at war, light and shadow, moon magic against rebellion. Thessira raises her hand, and the moon's light shines through the storm. Waves of water swirl around her, and illusions of silver mist rise, enveloping the room. Her magic weaves intricate patterns, an artful dance of control and command. But Kyries is unrelenting. With a guttural cry, He raises his own hand, summoning fire and wind. His magic, born of rebellion, clashes with hers, creating a cacophony of destruction. The room becomes a battlefield. Lirae stands in the center, her heart pounding as she feels the magic rip through the air. She knows that the battle is not just one of magic, but of ideals. It's not about destroying the throne or preserving the old order. It's about choosing what Vandoria needs most. Power without understanding or compassion is just destruction. But does a new path require a new kind of rule, or is it better to break free from all of it? In a moment of clarity, Lirae raises her hand, and a pulse of raw, ancient magic flows from her, crashing into the chaos between Kyres and Thessira. Both stop, their magic faltering as the force of her power commands attention. "I won't choose between you," she says, her voice ringing out, carrying the weight of destiny. "I will choose a path that unites us all. Not through force or deception. Not through monarchy or revolution, but through understanding and compromise." The magic settles, and the room falls into a tense silence. Kyres looks at Lirae, his anger simmering beneath the surface, but there's a flicker of something else in his eyes. Understanding, perhaps, or a reluctant respect. Thessira, too, seems to have been struck by Lirae's words, her confidence shaken by the possibility of a new way forward. The final decision lies with Lirae. She knows that no path will be without sacrifice. But she also knows that Vandoria cannot be healed by continuing the cycles of violence and power struggles. Lirae lowers her hand, and a soft glow surrounds her. The magic that flows from her is not destructive, but restorative, like the promise of a new dawn. A future where Aethir and humans can coexist, where power is shared, not hoarded. The future of Vandoria is uncertain, but in that moment, Lirae knows that change has begun. The magical storm has passed. Veridoth, the capital of Vandoria, lies in the aftermath of the tumultuous battle. The echoes of elemental power still reverberate through the air, but now there is silence. The ground, cracked and scorched, remains a testament to the chaos that has unfolded. The city's grand hall, once a place of diplomacy and deceit, now stands empty, its members, rebels and Aethir alike, having dispersed to tend to the broken kingdom. Lirae stands in the courtyard, her gaze fixed on the horizon. The sun is beginning to rise, casting a soft golden light over the ruins of the city. The throne room behind her, once an imposing symbol of power, is now nothing but a shadow of what it was. The throne, shattered and abandoned, lies at her feet like a relic of the past. She feels the weight of it all, the burden of leadership, the responsibility that has fallen on her shoulders. She is no longer the girl who ran from her birthright, no longer the healer hidden away in a secluded village. She is a leader, though the title does not sit comfortably on her. The world she once believed could be fixed by a singular choice, whether to restore the monarchy or tear it down, has proven more complicated. Behind her, Kyres approaches, his steps slow but purposeful. His face is marked by exhaustion, but there is a softness in his eyes, a quiet understanding. He had once been driven by anger, by the desire to tear down the system that had oppressed his people. Now there is something more, a tentative hope that perhaps the future doesn't have to be defined by violence. "We've come a long way," Kyres says, standing beside her, his voice low but steady. "The rebellion, the Aethir, everything we fought for, it's all led to this moment. But I'm not sure what happens next." Lirae doesn't turn to look at him immediately. Instead, she breathes in the cool air, letting the weight of her decision settle over her. "I don't know either," she admits, her voice barely above a whisper. "We're standing at a crossroads. The throne is broken. The old ways are gone, but we have to figure out what comes after." A figure approaches from behind, Thessira. The moonborn princess's once dominant aura has softened, her sharp gaze no longer filled with a desire for power. She stands quietly, watching Lirae, her expression unreadable. "I never thought it would end like this," Thessira says, almost to herself. "All this power, and in the end, it doesn't matter." Lirae turns to her, their eyes meeting for a long moment. "It matters in a different way now," she replies. "We don't need a throne to rule. We need something else. Something that can unite us." Kyries and Thessira exchange a glance, and for the first time, there is no distrust between them. No division between their visions. There is only the uncertain path forward. "I've spent my whole life believing that power comes from the sword, from magic, from force," Kyries says, his voice tinged with introspection. "But maybe it's something else. Maybe it's the ability to work together, to heal the land, not tear it apart." Thessira steps forward, her moonlit eyes now softened with something resembling understanding. "The Aethir have always believed in control. But perhaps the time for control has passed. It's time for something new." Lirae looks between them both, feeling the shift in the air, the understanding that binds them all together now. They have fought, argued, and bled for this moment. But the future of Vandoria no longer lies in their hands alone. It lies in the hands of every person who still believes that peace is possible. Lirae's thoughts drift to her father, the First Monarch, whose blood runs in her veins. The throne, once a symbol of ultimate power, seems insignificant now. What truly matters is the land, the people, the magic, the world they share. She knows that the kingdom cannot be healed by one person, not even by a monarch. It will require the efforts of all its people, human and Aethir, to rebuild from the ruins. "I don't have all the answers," Lirae says quietly. "But I know this. We can't go back. The past has to stay there. We need to move forward, together." For a long moment, no one speaks. The wind rustles through the remains of the palace, carrying with it the faint scent of renewal. Lirae steps forward, gazing out at the horizon, her mind racing with possibilities. The road ahead is uncertain, but she knows one thing for sure. The future of Vandoria will not be defined by a single crown, a single person, or a single revolution. It will be defined by the choices they make now, by the strength of their unity, the willingness to rebuild, and the courage to embrace a new destiny. The question remains, will they succeed in forging a new path, or will Vandoria fall into endless strife once again? That, Lirae knows, is not a question for one person to answer. It is a question for them all. And with that thought, the sun rises fully over the horizon, casting light on the kingdom's future. Hey, thanks for sticking around until the end. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with some who would love it, and of course, subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to turn on the notifications by clicking the bell, so you're always in the loop. See you next time.